Now we are starting with the keynote address. It's my honor to introduce Professor Dr. B. Srinivas Prasad sir, keynote addresser. Sir, having 30 years of experience in various fields of Ayurveda, like the clinical practice with the super specialization in male infertility, Ayurveda research, teaching medicine, manufacturing, and administration. Sir awarded Ayurveda Ratna in 2002, Teacher of Teachers Award in 2014, Ayurveda Shri Sammana in 2013, Best Teacher Award for the year of 2012 and 2013. Sir is a member of Scientific Advisory Committee, Regional Medical Research Center, Belgaum. Sir is the member of Board of Management, KLE University, Belgaum. Member of PhD Committee, RGUHS, Bangalore. Member of PhD Committee, Goa University. Member of Board of Studies in Clinical, Goa University. And also the member of Board of Studies Faculty of Ayurveda, Amrita University, Kerala. And he is a member of Ayush Education Committee, Ministry of Ayush, New Delhi. Also member of WHO Working Group developing benchmarks for practice of Ayurveda and Panchakarma, WHO Workshop, Jaipur. And he is a member of a Scientific Advisory Committee, Gujarat Ayurveda University, Jamnagar. He is the Chairman Scientific Advisory Group, Clinical Research, CCRAS, New Delhi. Sir received the Best Scientist Award for the year 2018 by KLE University. He is the expert member of NAC Manual Preparation 2019, established Ayutech Incubation Center. Sir was a principal investigator and co-investigator for n number of research and project works. Sir has guided 6 PhD theses, published more than 70 articles, delivered more than 180 scientific deliberations, and visited USA, Japan, and Indonesia. Presently, Sir is serving as principal of KLE Shri BMK Ayurveda Mahavidyalaya, Belagavi. Over to you, sir.
I think, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're loud and clear,
Yes,
sir.
okay. Good morning to all of you. It gives immense pleasure to be part of this event, a very historical event for the Institute of Karnataka Ayurveda Medical College, Mangalore. And I must congratulate the entire team led by Dr. Santosh, the principal of the college, and the chief architect, Dr. Wahida Banu, who was instrumental. So almost a few weeks back, she proposed with me. So I wanted to conduct the program and the thyroid. So I congratulated her and I also guided her, and she nicely designed or architected the entire program. I also acknowledge the presence of the Dr. B.S. Sridhar, who is a good friend of mine, the Joint Director of the Department of Ayush, who was the chief guest for this today's function, who rightly stressed the importance of the documentation or the standard treatment guidelines, which is the need of the hour, which whole community is neglecting, which is to be taken up very seriously. His suggestion is that this juncture is very, very apt, and hope the experts and all the students and all the practitioners and the teachers will take it up rightly, the suggestion, and take it forward that one. I also must congratulate and compliment all the speakers overall almost across the globe, including Dr. Pratima, who is also my student and is doing excellent job there, and all the other speakers who are all going to enlighten all of you on the thyroid disorders, which is very, very important, this one. I also see the Dr. Ajit Kamath, who is also a student of mine. So very nice to see all the students. They're all doing very good job there. And let me go to my presentation. I'll share the screen. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
Yes.
You can continue, sir.
So anyway, the thyroid disorders, as I am the keynote address, and there are specific speakers are there to speak on the specific topics. I am giving just a overview on the thyroid disorders in Ayurveda. I'm not touching any technical aspects, and only overview on this one I'm going to give it. When coming to Ayurveda, it is a puzzle in Ayurveda. I can say that one because though after having so many studies, so much of discussions, all still it is remained as a puzzle in Ayurveda. When you see what are the conditions are we studied, are the considered, or the research has been taken up. Few people has taken up as a Galaganda, there is a Kapaja Galaganda, and some people as a Gandamala. Maybe this one we can see this one, there's all the nodules has become the garland. So that we take as a Gandamala also. We can all see this one. That is one of the reason, or Galaganda, Gandamala. Then some people taken Bhutagni Dushti, Dhatwagni Dushti, or Agni Dushti itself in general. And some taken as a Bhasmakagni, and some people can take as a Karshya. Likewise, the varied conditions has been being considered and under thyroid disorders and has being treated all. So likewise, it is a still remain as a puzzle, as rightly pointed out by Dr. Sridhar also. Still it is a puzzle. And when you see the physiological functions as well as the signs and symptoms of the various pathological manifestations, well, I'm not touching the specific part because there are speakers who are going to take it in detail, but I'm giving the overview. On the basis of these, the physiological functions and signs and symptoms of the various pathological manifestations of thyroid disorder, what we can infer is it is influencing, the thyroid gland is influencing hair to gene. You take any tissue of the body or any component of the body, which is not left out anything in the body, which is without influencing. Both thyroid gland is influencing every tissue or every component of the body. And when it comes to Ayurveda, Rasa to Shukra, almost all dhatus are being influenced by this the thyroid gland, including Upadhatu and Malas. When you say hair fall also there, or weight also there, so dry skin, etc., constipation, and the metabolic disorders. Likewise, n number of the signs and symptoms we can see that we can attribute that Rasa to Shukra. All dhatus are being affected, including Upadhatu and Malas also. And also Agni. You take Jatragni or Dhatu or Bhutagni, everything is being vitiated or affected or infected by the thyroid gland. This is the way almost all every tissue of the body is being affected or dhatu is being affected by thyroid gland. Let us have a look on the various research activities carried out in Ayurveda so that we can also have a glimpse how Ayurveda people are thinking in respect to thyroid gland. So I have classified because there are many studies are there. So I have grouped them into some categories concerned the fundamental concepts. The studies which are being taken up on fundamental concepts. There is some scholars has tried to relate the thyroid disorders and with Deha Prakriti. So which Deha Prakriti people are more prone or how it is there. So what is the relation between thyroid gland and Prakriti? So there's some studies has been taken up. And some studies with the taste threshold with hypo and hyperthyroid. So what is the taste threshold? Rasanipata is there. In the Germany is being practiced that Rasanipata method. So what is the taste threshold in case of hypo or hyperthyroid conditions? And then Agni and thyroid relation. What is the relation between Agni and thyroid? Likewise, some people are some tried. And coming to clinical relationship, the thyroid dysfunction in perimenopausal women, and then lung function test and ECG in hypothyroid females, the creatinine clearance in hypothyroidism, insulin levels and glucose tolerance in euthyroid, hypothyroid, hyperthyroid. Likewise, this all how to relate the thyroid gland into the clinical conditions of under various clinical conditions of thyroid gland. Likewise, some people, some scholars try to relate the thyroid functions and the clinical manifestation. And coming to the clinical manifestation, various thyroid disorder processes. So cardiac manifestations in hypothyroidism. Some of the people have tried it. Then role in Vandhyatva. Infertility. What is the role of infertility about the thyroid? The psychiatric morbidity also. Some people, especially Manasroga people has tried to relate with the psychiatric or the Manasika bhavas and the thyroid dysfunction. depression in hypothyroidism, hyperprolactinemia, hypothyroidism, dysfunctional uterine bleeding, and pulmonary hypertension, clinical manifestation in older individuals. In case of geriatric, Jara Vyadhi, what is the role of the or condition of thyroid gland? Likewise, varied areas has been touched upon by Ayurvedic scholars. Then coming to some panchakarmas, Niruha Basti has been tried with the Panchamula, the various Niruha Bastis. Then Nitya Virechana, some people have tried Nitya Virechana. Some people tried with Vamana and then Haritaki Shunti Yoga, with or without Vamana. Some given Vamana, then followed by Shunti Haritaki, or without Vamana, Shunti Haritaki. Vamana and Virechana together or individually, and Vamanottara Virechana. And then Lepas, various Lepas has been tried on the directly on the gland. Maybe Devadaru, etc. Lepas has been tried. Likewise, almost several panchakarmas, almost all panchakarma has been tried. And Gugulus, these are the widely used area. So wherever many practitioners will directly go for Gugulu preparations. Tripla Gugulu, Kanchana Gugulu, Purnava Gugulu, Gugulu Tiktakam Kashayam, Gugulu Pancham and Panchapalam Churnam. Likewise, Gugulu also widely being used on various the thyroid disorders, the Gugulu preparations. And then Rasayana and Rasa preparation. So some people gone for Pippali Vardhaman Rasayana. Even sometimes after Shodhana, they gone for Pippali Vardhaman Rasayana. Then Ayaskruti, Chilajitu, Chitra Rasayana, Mandura Basma, Swarna Basma, Abrak Basma. Likewise, varied the drugs has been tried. The formulations, concepts, panchakarmas, almost widely has been tried. And then these are the various formulations. Vasnadi Kashaya, Vasakadi Kashaya, Shadderna Churna, Vyoshadi Churna, Abhaya Churna, Amruta, Yesti Madhu, Chitraka, Ayupatti Karata, Trimada, likewise Vidanga, Charagutika, including Agadas also been tried. Almost wide range of the drugs, formulations, procedures has been tried in respect to the thyroid disorders. In spite of having all these ones, at present we lack in Ayurvedic Samprapti. We never established the Samprapti in Ayurveda. What exactly Samprapti up there? And then lack of evidence-based medicine. So we don't have evidence because some people has given Gugulu, and then there's people who was no response for Gugulu. 3 months, 4 months, 6 months they take, and again they shift over to some other modality. Likewise is going on. The reasons may be we studied or we generally take on the basis of hormone levels. We diagnose by T3, TSH as the commonly being done, and based of that we categorize either hypo or hyper, and we start treating the condition. And where we never try to establish Ayurvedic pathophysiology or the Samprapti of the in Ayurveda. With that angle, we are not tried as per the studies which I scanned totally, which I read out, because on the basis of that I can say that so our studies have not been considered the Ayurvedic pathophysiology, Ayurvedic pathophysiological manifestations, and hence only hormone levels we tried. So there is some success, there is some again failure. The exact thing are we not worked out. When you see the endocrine regulation, of course, physiology will be detailed, dealt by the scholars are there. So we have a negative feedback, positive feedback, production by the gland, and transport by binding proteins in the plasma, and in target tissues response is there. This is the mainly we can say that the steps are the various set points. We can say that how the endocrine system will act or regulations can be done. So negative feedback, positive feedback. To secrete positive feedback and to minimize or stop negative feedback, then production by the gland, hormonal production, and then transportation. Unless until there is a binding proteins are there, they can't properly transport to the target areas. And once it transported, again target tissue has to respond for the stimuli. So these are the steps are there in the endocrine regulation. All we can say on the one here, the overproduction, insufficiency, resistance. Likewise, all these things we can categorize broadly, and either it can have overproduction or less production, insufficiency, or resistance by the host target tissue. They're not responding for that. Likewise, we can categorize, and then we'll see how in Ayurveda we can interpret those ones. Now we see here pathophysiological, the pathophysiological processes I can see here. Here probable Samprapti in Ayurveda. Here endocrine regulation, negative feedback, positive feedback. There are chances of Avarna here. The concept of Avarna we can bring here in this context. the feedback is not functioning. There is some obstruction is happening there. Then production, concern to the production. We have excessive production, low production, defective production. So what we call atipravritti, apravritti, here dhatukshaya in terms of defective production means there's no raw material deficiency. And then agnimandya or ama. Ama is improperly produced tissue or the hormone, which is a defective hormone. So likewise, so these are the chances are there here. Dhatukshaya in terms of lack of raw materials, and then agnimandya, there is a defective metabolic process, and then ama is defective production. So these are the chances are there in this way. Then transport, binding proteins. Again here dhatukshaya, malnutrition, there is no enough proteins in the body to have bind and carry the hormones, and then defective amyls, there is a defective protein. It itself is a defectively formed, so it can again immunogenic ama formation here. These are the chances here. And then target tissue, receptors on the cells. So here again, atipravritti, either the cells may respond, over response, or no response, or there is a blockage. They can happen that one. So these are the three way manifestations are can happen at target level, tissue target level. So here we can see the avarana also there, atipravritti there, apravritti, dhatukshaya, ama. So likewise, you can see these type of manifestations can happen in case of thyroid disorders when you bring out Ayurvedic concept in the practice. So then overall, how we can say that one hypofunction, there is a decreased function, hyperfunction, there is excessive, and then non-responsive, the inflammatory, autoimmune, neoplastic. These we can categorize all these ones. So here we can what are with the raw material availability. So the required raw materials in terms of proteins or maybe iodine, etc., whatever things are there. So there is deficiency, then you can take that to dhatukshaya. Then agni, the vishama agni, the deranged agni, the metabolic process is there. Then ama is the immune complex, where autoimmunity is there. The immune complex forms here, ama we can call antigen antibody, the complex forms there. Then sotodushti, so this comes under atipravritti, apravritti, sangha also here. So this concept comes sotodushti here. And then avarna. So here again, feedback mechanisms are being affected avarna. Then involved dhatus are almost all dhatu is being involved here. We did not have only one dhatu. Rasa to shukra, every dhatu is being affected by the thyroid disorders, This way we can have samprapti thinking. When come to treatment, because when you have established samprapti, modes of samprapti, then we can think of what are the treatment options for the thyroid disorders. Nutrition, correction of nutrition, as we read there, dhatukshaya can happen to lead to that one. So nutrition correction is required. Then correction of agni, that is also we have to take care of that one. Then ama, is pachana, and then dipana pachana, both is required. Then sotadushti correction, respective shodhanas we have to go for it. Then clearance of avarana, so again shodhana. Then correction of involved dhatu specific medicine has to be given or assigned to be given. Then shodhana, appropriate shodhana to be selected as per here above the conditions. Then rasayana as immunomodulatory. Many are autoimmune diseases are there here. So then over and above, lifestyle modification to prevent further maintenance. And again, yoga is also very, very important. These are the treatment modalities which we can take it up. And of course, the respective experts are going to deal in detail of all those ones, when to take, what to take, etc. So coming to diet modification, I'm not going to detail here. So one is we have a bad diet here, there are recommended diet here. So there is a need to correct the diet appropriately. The first step as the diet modification is very important. After that one, we can have the exercises are there. So neck exercises, which is very important, where we can strain on the or stress on the thyroid glands are there, especially Ujjayi pranayama, where it is going to exert pressure or the stimulus to the thyroid gland itself. So Ujjayi pranayama is most reported to be very, very highly effective in managing the thyroid disorders. And then the various other yogas. For example, here Ustrasana, then Chetubandhasana, Sarvangasana, Dhanurasana, and then here Ardha Halasana, maybe there, Surya Namaskaras, Shirashishasana, then Purna Halasana, Matshyasana, then Bhujangasana. Likewise, these are the few of the asanas which are found to be very, very reported to be very effective in managing the thyroid disorders, etc. And coming to summary, so as I told, thyroid influences rasa to shukra, all dhatus, including upadhatu and malas. There is no the dhatu left out in the body without affecting the influencing by thyroid god. And thyroid disorders include multiple samprapti manifestations. So we cannot have only one type of samprapti here. We need to think multiple samprapti manifestations, and accordingly we have to plan the treatment. Otherwise, we may miss out some factors there in the pathophysiology. Then as thyroid disorders are being diagnosed by thyroid hormones, there is a need to establish, because we need to establish, though you diagnose by laboratory methods, but we need to establish our samprapti and samprapti ghataka so that we can plan our treatment accordingly. Otherwise, you may miss out our Ayurvedic treatment there. So treatment protocol as per samprapti ghatakas and avastha. Avastha is important there, samprapti ghatakas. Then only we can target every aspect of this pathophysiology there. So and then suitable shodhana followed by rasayana. These are the choice of treatments when we adopt all these ones. So this is the message for this at this juncture. Once again, I wish all the organizers, especially with the Bhanu and the entire management of the college, for organizing a very good event and also be utilizing the Corona time appropriate topic. Once again, I congratulate and thank all the team. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable information.